Okay, this is the intro, and we're going to start. 1, 2, 3, start. How you doing? A lot of you already know who I am, but there's some of you who prayed for me and that don't even know me through social media. My daughter Brittany, or some of you know her as Gypsy, she really got on it and had a lot of people praying for us. Actually, my wife and I both, Juanita, were in the hospital to start with, and then she was in there for a week and she got out and recovered quite well. So thank you so much for your prayers. I can tell you that when I first went in, I had no idea what I was getting into, and but the first week I could feel the prayers, and I just wanted to say this to thank everybody, friends, family, relatives, acquaintances, and anything. It's just a little prayer, anything that was sincere. I mean, those prayers reached heaven. And the first week, I kid you not, no matter how bad I was, I felt strengthened. I felt the prayers of the lovers of God. I felt it. And it was powerful. And I thought I was going to be walking out of there in days. But it didn't work out that way, as you know. And I just wanted to encourage you guys, when someone, when you set out to pray, just know, 1 sets 1,000 a flight, 2 sets 10,000 a flight. And even if it's just a short prayer, all of those reach heaven. If you're sincere, they reach heaven. And they strengthen me. But they strengthened me for something that was to come that I had no idea was coming. After a while, I didn't even know where I was at and what happened. But we go through difficult times in our lives. I couldn't imagine being an unbeliever and not having a safe harbor and a good anchor for a storm. And it doesn't mean that we won't go through difficult times, but we do know that He'll be with us. And I just want to share something with you real quick. In my younger years, about 1989, I had a dream, and it was early in the morning, and it was an audio dream, and an audible dream. All I heard was the voice of God. And He spoke to me, and He said, "I'll never leave you nor forsake you." And He said it 3 times. And when I woke up, I jumped out of bed, and I sat up real quick, and I thought, He will never leave me nor forsake me. Yeah, and that's all there was. But I went to work that morning, and I was working on a little widow lady's house. And I was painting the front fascia board up on a ladder. And all of a sudden, I heard this old crickety voice. And it said, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." And the hair stood up on the back of my neck. And I thought to myself, who's saying that? And I turned around, and there was this little old man with snow white hair standing at the bottom of my ladder. And my first thought was, where did you come from? The second thought was, why are you saying this to me? And I asked him, I said, why are you saying this to me? And he said, I was sitting on my front porch watching you, and God spoke to me. And He told me, go tell that young man that I will never leave him nor forsake him. That goes for all of us. Doesn't mean we won't go through a difficult time, but it means that He's there with us. And it means that, Jesus is the light of the world in the darkest times of your life. When you're going through something, that light will lead you through that darkness. And the lovers of God in this world, the believers who love Jesus, we are the light of this world. And it's the prayers of the saints. It's the prayers of one, not only one, but two, since 10,000 aflight, that lead us through these dark times. We really do need each other. And I had no idea that what was going to happen. And I don't want to get too much into it, but at a very dark time. And being intubated, according to medical records, multiple times. I'm told it was 3. Had some very bad experiences. And if I didn't have the prayers of so many of you strengthening me, once the drugs they use on you, they put you into a terrible state. Some people say it's a dream state. For me, it was a nightmare. And I had darkness. One thing that came out of this, when I finally came to and was being able to be cognitively aware, I had an acute awareness of darkness. And it's amazing how dark our world is. But we get desensitized to it. And I don't want to be desensitized to it, because we need to see it for what it is. And we need to understand the importance of the light that we carry and the salt, the savor that we bring to this world. And if we're not aware that we are the light bearers and that we're here for a savory taste for the lost in the world, then we won't employ ourselves. And but this is an encouragement for anybody. 2 things. Number 1, pray. And I just thank you so much for the strength that I received, because what I was about to go through was very difficult. And maybe we'll save that for some other time, but all I can tell you is that at one point I was in this dark place. And I had a man, I can see him coming from a distance, and he was running full steam towards me, and I knew he meant to harm me. But I was paralytic and I couldn't move. And he ran up and he got about 2 feet from my face and he said, "I am Pophis!" And I thought, this guy's going to pummel me. And I can see in his eyes, he hated me. He hated me. And for what? And then he turned around and walked away. Well, that later became very apparent who Pophis is. Some of them call him Apophis with an A. But I'm sharing this because this COVID thing is so dark and spiritually wicked. It was birthed out of spiritual wickedness. And I don't think a lot of us are seeing the intentions of evil hearts and promoting it. And I don't blame the doctors or the hospitals, but they're employing a protocol that is inspired by spiritual wickedness. The drugs they put you on, there's a lot of things going on that they're not conducive to restoring you. They're harmful. And some drugs now are being considered for a class action suit. It was when they moved me to another facility that facility right away took me off of all those drugs. And they had told my wife, there's some of those drugs they would never give to anybody. They wouldn't give to any of their patients. And so my main focus that I wanted to share with you is, number 1, I'm so thankful. So thankful for your prayers. Your prayers were powerful. Every single one of you. Your prayers were powerful. My good friend Stuart. This is when I was kind of awake and at least knew I was sitting in a hospital bed. I could hear his voice coming out of the call button in the speaker for the TV, and he was praying for me. And I can't tell you how excited I got, how much hope it filled me, that I'm not forgotten. People do know where I'm at and what's happening. And so, anytime I hear anyone needs prayer, you tell me, I'm jumping right on it, because I know it works. Number 2, I want us to understand that the darkness of what's going on, the spiritual wickedness that's overtaking our nation. And if we don't pray for our nation, I know many of us feel we lost it already, but darkness can only encroach upon the lackness or the dissipation of light. We are though. And thank you so much for your prayers. Know that they are strong. Know that they work. And oh man. And that in your darkest hour, He'll never leave you nor forsake you. And anyhow, I've had doctors call. I've had one leave me his email address when I was in the hospital before they moved me to the secondary one. And my beautiful wife and my daughter was able to advocate for me getting into a different facility. And he came up to me and he said, if you make it, here's my email address. Contact me. I'd like to have a cup of coffee or even a beer with you. And I remember laying in bed because I was so out of it from the drugs, thinking, what? If I make it? What's he talking about? And this is a very important thing I want to express to all of you. One time I was sitting there, and a doctor was sitting next to me, and another one came in, and my name's Lance Kelly Brown. And he said, how's Lance doing today? And he said, well, you know Lance. One day he's crashing and burning, and he's out down for the count, and we're in fear that we're going to lose him. The next, the guy's back in the ring swinging. He's a fighter. I want you to understand, I'm not a fighter. Maybe in the beginning, but at some point in time, I was just along for the ride because I couldn't fight. I didn't have any fight in me. I was so drugged up, I didn't even know if I was coming or going. In times, I was in a different dark realm. And it was your prayers that fought for me. You guys fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself, and that's a major revelation for me. Trust me. It's a major revelation for me. And I just thank my daughter and my wife, how vigilant they are, all that they've done for me, and all of it I feel so undeserving for. And I don't really know, there's no way to repay other than to stand in the gap for others. And, but anyhow, I need everyone to understand that. And that's what was being said about me, even when they moved me into the three other facilities, or the other two facilities. And that was, they said, wow, you're a fighter. And I would stop them. No, I'm off all the drugs and I understand where I'm at, what's going on. And I said, no, I'm not a fighter. In fact, it was the prayers of so many people I don't even know, who sustained me, who spoke into my life, who prophesied. And beautiful, wonderful lovers of God. And know this, that we as the body of Christ, we have to stand and see this thing in the spiritual light and truly what it is. And that God will never leave you nor forsake you. He's the one who's going to walk with you. And recently a friend of mine, Bill Henderson, he said, Kelly, you know the little picture, and it shows the footprints in the sand, and there's two footprints, and then there's one because the person was being carried. That's you. Jesus was carrying you through that point of time. And I'm sorry, guys. I know that's the worst thing you can do when you're on film, but anyhow, I just want to thank you guys. Thank you so much, and I value life so much. It makes me concerned even more for a lot of people, because in those dark times, I prayed and said, God, I don't want to go. I don't want to die. But I seem to be at a disadvantage here, and I can look down there and see death's door. And the scary thing is, I don't see no tunnel of light. I see death's door. And that's because I was in the thralls of a dark work that was trying to take me out. And I can't even express to you guys. And yet, I can remember so many times, even in my realm of dark dream state, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. I never felt left alone, but I did feel the full impact of darkness. I did feel the full impact of spiritual wickedness. I did feel the full impact of that there was spiritual wickedness who was bent on harming me. And why? I'm not doing anything special to be that big of a threat to the enemy, simply because you bear light. The enemy despises us, and we have to see this whole thing as a revival of spiritual wickedness is what it is. We need a revival of spiritual light. We need to return our hearts back to God. And listen, the word backslidden is not even heard anymore. I can say I was backslidden. Why? Because if you walk in a place with God that you no longer walk with it, you've slidden backwards. I slid backwards. We should never retract and fall backwards. We do. And I don't want anyone to feel condemned about it, but I do want us all to acknowledge it. And if there's if there was ever any time we needed to stand up and be a part of the army of God, it's now. God bless you all. Thank you so much for your prayers. And I don't want to be a weepy, whiny crybaby, but it's difficult not to be, really, because my mind's racing with a lot of images of where I've been. And I had 2 different doctors tell me that in the first hospital that I was the sickest patient they had. The second hospital, he said I was the sickest patient they had. I asked him, I said, do you know what are the percentages of someone surviving 2 intubations or ventilations? And I said, isn't it 10%? And he said, where'd you get that number? I said, I don't know. Maybe I made it up. And he said, we don't have any data for anyone who survived 2 ventilations. Your prayers are powerful. Thank you so much. It's time we be the light and resist this spiritual wickedness, overcome it. We need the power of God in our lives like we never needed before. And I mainly made this because I wanted all of you to know how thankful I am for your prayers. And please continue to pray for others. Your prayers are powerful, especially when we're in numbers. God bless you. Thank you very much.